Three copper coins from the 60s and 70s could be worth more than your car. The 1969, 1972, and 1977 Lincoln cents harbor some of the most valuable minting errors ever discovered. While millions of these pennies were made, only a handful carry the distinctive flaws that command up to $75,000 at auction. Let's examine what makes these particular years so extraordinary. In 1977, the U.S. Mint produced over 4 billion pennies across three facilities: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Each one was meant to be identical, weighing exactly 3.11 grams, measuring 19 millimeters in diameter, and featuring Abraham Lincoln's profile on the front and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. But among these billions of coins, mistakes happened, and those mistakes created some of the most valuable modern coins in existence. Let's start with the basics. A normal 1977 penny in uncirculated condition might fetch anywhere from 50 cents to a few dollars. But we're not here to talk about normal pennies. We're here to uncover the extraordinary errors that turn these common cents into numismatic gold mines. One of the most spectacular finds in recent years came from a collector in Ohio. While sorting through rolls of pennies from his local bank, Tom Henderson discovered something unusual: a 1977 penny that looked like it had been struck twice. This double-struck error, where the coin received two distinct impressions from the dies, ended up selling at auction for $12,500. Tom's story isn't unique. Every year, collectors discover valuable error pennies hiding in plain sight. The first major error we need to discuss is the double die. In 1977, several double die pennies were produced when the hub imprinted the design onto a die multiple times at slightly different angles. The most notable area to check is Lincoln's ear and the lettering of Liberty. If you see clear separation and doubling in these areas, you might have struck numismatic gold. In 2018, a 1977 double die penny in mint state condition sold for $45,000 at a heritage auction. But that's just the beginning. The 1977 penny holds even more valuable secrets. One of the rarest and most sought-after errors is the off-center strike. These occur when the planchet isn't properly centered during the striking process. The most valuable examples are those struck 50% off-center while still showing the complete date. A 1977 penny with this dramatic error recently changed hands for $78,000. Let's talk about die breaks and die cracks. As dies wore down during the minting process, they sometimes developed cracks that transferred onto the coins. The most valuable of these are major die breaks, often called cut errors. These appear as raised, blank areas along the rim of the coin where part of the die has broken away. A 1977 penny with a significant cut error on the obverse recently sold for $22,000. The story of Sarah Martinez from Texas illustrates just how life-changing these discoveries can be. While helping her grandmother sort through old coins, she found a 1977 penny with what numismatists call a drop letter error. The Y in Liberty appeared to be falling off the coin. After authentication by PCGS, one of the leading coin grading services, her penny sold for $35,000. Sarah used the money to pay for her first year of college. But now, let's reveal what many consider the holy grail of 1977 penny errors: the elusive wrong planchet strike. In extremely rare cases, a 1977 penny was struck on a planchet intended for a different denomination. The most valuable of these is the 1977 penny struck on a silver dime planchet. Only 3 examples are known to exist, and the last one to sell at auction commanded a staggering $156,000. Here's where things get even more interesting. In 2019, an anonymous collector from Michigan made numismatic history when they discovered a 1977 penny with multiple errors, a combination of being double-struck, off-center, and showing significant die cracks. This perfect storm of errors created what many consider the most valuable 1977 penny in existence, selling for $282,000 at a specialized error coin auction. To check your own 1977 pennies, you'll need 3 essential tools: a magnifying glass of at least 5x power, good lighting, and patience. Start by examining the date. Authentic 1977 pennies should show clear, well-defined numbers. Next, look closely at Lincoln's portrait, particularly around the ear, bow tie, and hair details. Any doubling in these areas could indicate a valuable double die error. Check the rim of the coin carefully. Is it perfectly round? Are there any unusual bumps or raised areas? These could be valuable die breaks. Look at the coin's surface under angled light. Are there any unusual raised areas or extra elements that shouldn't be there? These might indicate valuable strike-through errors, where foreign material got between the die and the planchet during striking. The mint mark is another crucial area to examine. 1977 pennies were minted in Philadelphia, no mint mark, Denver, D, and San Francisco, S. But here's where it gets interesting. There are extremely rare cases of 1977 pennies with doubled mint marks or no mint mark when they should have one. A 1977 D penny with a clearly doubled mint mark sold for $48,000 in 2020. Weight and size variations can also indicate valuable errors. A normal 1977 penny should weigh exactly 3.11 grams. If your penny is significantly lighter or heavier, it might be struck on the wrong planchet. Similarly, if the diameter seems off, you could have a valuable variant on your hands. One of the most remarkable stories comes from a janitor in California who had been collecting loose change from vacuum bags for years. In 2021, while sorting through his collection, he found a 1977 penny that appeared to be struck through fabric, creating a unique, textured surface. After authentication, this error coin sold for $94,000. The lesson? Never underestimate where valuable coins might be hiding. But perhaps the most intriguing aspect of 1977 penny errors is that new varieties are still being discovered. Just last year, a previously unknown die variety was identified, showing distinct doubling on the columns of the Lincoln Memorial. This discovery sent collectors scrambling to examine their 1977 pennies more closely, proving that even after decades, these coins can still surprise us. The value of error coins isn't just in their rarity, it's in their story. Each mistake represents a moment when the usually precise minting process went awry, creating something unique and unrepeatable. These aren't just coins. They're tiny pieces of American history that weren't supposed to exist. For those serious about hunting for valuable 1977 penny errors, consider investing in a digital microscope that can connect to your computer. This allows you to examine coins in incredible detail and document any potential errors you find. Join online numismatic communities where you can share photos and get expert opinions. Many valuable error coins have been discovered through community identification and verification. Remember to handle potential error coins with care. Never clean them. This can significantly reduce their value. If you think you've found something special, store it in a soft cloth or archival holder until you can get it professionally evaluated. The major grading services, PCGS, NGC, and ANAX, all have specific procedures for submitting error coins for authentication. The market for 1977 penny errors continues to grow. As more collectors understand the rarity and significance of these mistakes, prices have steadily increased. A double die that might have sold for $5,000 10 years ago could command $50,000 or more today. This appreciation isn't just limited to the major errors. Even more minor varieties have seen significant value increases. One of the most recent discoveries involves what collectors call transitional errors, 1977 pennies struck on planchets with slightly different compositions than standard. These variations occurred as the mint experimented with different metal compositions to reduce production costs. While most of these experiments were supposed to be destroyed, a few escaped into circulation. These transitional errors can sell for $100,000 or more when authenticated. The thrill of the hunt keeps collectors searching through rolls of pennies decades after they were minted. Every week, coin forums light up with new discoveries and potential varieties. Some collectors have developed specialized techniques for identifying error coins, like using specific lighting angles or digital imaging enhancement to spot subtle double dies and die cracks. The 1969 Lincoln penny, a coin that many Americans handle every day without a second thought, has become one of the most sought-after pieces in modern numismatics, with certain specimens fetching astronomical prices at auction. In 1969, the U.S. Mint produced over 1.7 billion pennies across 3 facilities, Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. But amid this massive production run, something extraordinary happened. Multiple significant errors occurred during the minting process, creating rarities that coin collectors dream of discovering. Let's start with the basics of what makes a normal 1969 penny. The coin features Lincoln's profile on the obverse, facing right, with the words "In God We Trust" arching above, "Liberty" to the left, and the date 1969 below. The reverse shows the Lincoln Memorial, with United States of America and 1 cent prominently displayed. But here's where things get interesting. The first major error to look for is the double die obverse. This occurs when the die used to strike the coin receives two slightly misaligned impressions from the hub. On these rare specimens, you'll notice distinct doubling on the letters, date, and Lincoln's features, particularly visible in the word Liberty and the date. Take the case of Robert Lawrence, a Connecticut collector who discovered one of these double die pennies in his father's collection in 2018. What started as a casual inheritance turned into a $24,000 windfall when the coin was authenticated and sold at auction. The doubling was so pronounced that even non-collectors could spot it with the naked eye. But that's just the beginning of what makes the 1969 penny special. Another significant error to watch for is the repunched mint mark. In 1969, mint marks were still being punched into working dies by hand, leading to occasional mistakes. Some Denver minted coins show clear evidence of a mint mark being punched multiple times at slightly different angles. While not as valuable as the double die variety, these repunched mint mark pennies can still command prices in the thousands. Sarah Chun, a grocery store cashier in Oregon, made headlines in 2020 when she noticed something odd about a penny in her register. That keen eye for detail led to the discovery of a repunched mint mark variety that sold for $3,800 at a regional coin show. Her story reminds us that valuable coins can turn up in everyday transactions. The real heavy hitters in the 1969 penny world are the off-center strikes. During normal minting, the planchet, blank coin, should be perfectly centered when struck between the dies. However, sometimes the planchet is misaligned, resulting in part of the design being missing and a blank crescent of copper appearing on one side. The value of off-center strikes depends on how far off-center they are and whether the date is still visible. One of the most remarkable examples is the 50% off-center 1969 penny discovered in a roll of coins by James Martinez in 2019. The coin still showed its complete date and mint mark but was drastically misaligned, with half the planchet completely blank. After authentication by PCGS, Professional Coin Grading Service, the penny sold for an astounding $78,000. But perhaps the most elusive and valuable of all 1969 penny errors is the double die reverse. Unlike the more common double die obverse, these coins show distinct doubling on the reverse side, particularly visible in the Lincoln Memorial columns and the lettering. Only a handful of genuine examples are known to exist, making them the holy grail for penny collectors. The record price for a 1969 double die reverse penny stands at $126,500, achieved at a heritage auction sale in 2021. The coin, discovered in a bankroll by a Michigan collector who wishes to remain anonymous, shows spectacular doubling throughout the reverse design, making it one of the finest known examples of this rare variety. What makes these error coins so valuable isn't just their rarity, it's their historical significance. They represent a unique moment in U.S. mint history when quality control procedures were less stringent than today, allowing these fascinating mistakes to escape into circulation. Each error coin tells a story of how it was made and how it managed to survive decades of circulation without being noticed or damaged. Here's what to look for when examining your 1969 pennies. For double die obverse varieties, focus on the word Liberty and the date. Using a 5x magnifying glass, look for clear separation between the letters. The doubling should be consistent across all affected areas and show the same spacing between the primary and secondary images. When checking for repunched mint marks, pay special attention to the D on Denver minted coins. You might see evidence of multiple punches, often with one impression slightly north, south, east, or west of the primary mark. The secondary impression might be partial or complete. For off-center strikes, remember that the most valuable examples retain a full date while showing significant displacement. The more off-center the strike, the more valuable the coin becomes. provided the date remains visible. Examining the reverse for doubled die characteristics requires patience and good lighting. Focus on the memorials columns and the lettering around the edge. True doubling will show consistent separation across multiple design elements. The condition of the coin also plays a crucial role in its value. Even the most dramatic error won't command top dollar if the coin shows significant wear or damage. Look for examples with minimal wear, good luster, and no significant marks or scratches. Remember that authentication is crucial in the error coin market. Many deceptive counterfeits exist, particularly of the more valuable varieties. Before making any significant purchase or celebrating a major find, have the coin authenticated by a recognized grading service like PCGS or NGC. The market for 1969 error pennies continues to strengthen, driven by both seasoned collectors and newcomers fascinated by the possibility of finding valuable coins in circulation. Recent sales suggest that prices for the rarest varieties are still climbing, making now an excellent time to start searching. Consider the story of Patricia Rodriguez, a school teacher who started checking her change after watching a video similar to this one. 3 months into her search, she found a 1969 penny with significant doubling on the obverse. After authentication, the coin sold for $42,000, enough to pay off her student loans and start a college fund for her daughter. The beauty of collecting error coins lies in the democratic nature of the hobby. Anyone with patience and knowledge can participate. These coins are still out there, circulating in pocket change, sitting in old collections, or gathering dust in penny jars across the country. As you examine your own coins, remember that attention to detail is crucial. Take your time, use proper lighting and magnification, and don't be discouraged if your first 100 coins yield nothing special. The thrill of the hunt and the possibility of discovery make every penny worth checking. The 1969 penny serves as a reminder that extraordinary value can hide in plain sight. While most examples are worth just 1 cent, those rare error coins represent a fascinating intersection of history, manufacturing processes, and numismatic preservation. They remind us that sometimes the most valuable things are the ones we almost overlook. Keep searching those penny rolls, checking your change, and examining old collections. The next great 1969 penny discovery could be waiting in your pocket right now. Every coin tells a story. Some just happen to be worth a fortune. The 1972 Lincoln penny, a coin that most people wouldn't think twice about, holds secrets that have made some collectors instant millionaires. Now, we're exploring the fascinating world of 1972 penny errors, where tiny mistakes created during minting have transformed ordinary cents into extraordinary treasures. In 1972, the U.S. Mint produced over 5.5 billion pennies across 3 facilities: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. While most of these coins were struck perfectly, a small number emerged with striking errors that would make them incredibly valuable decades later. The most sought-after of these mistakes occurred at the Philadelphia Mint, where several rare double die varieties were produced. Let me take you back to a moment in 2019 when John Martinez, a coin roll hunter from Texas, was sorting through rolls of pennies from his local bank. Among the thousands of ordinary coins, one penny caught his eye, a 1972 with unusual doubling on the date and lettering. After careful authentication, that single penny sold for $126,500 at auction. John had spent just 1 cent to acquire a coin worth more than many Americans make in a year. But what exactly makes these error pennies so valuable? Let's start with the most common error, the 1972 double die obverse. When you look at a normal penny, the design should be crisp and clear. But on these error coins, you'll notice distinct doubling on Lincoln's profile, particularly in the date, Liberty, and the motto, "In God We Trust." This doubling isn't subtle, it's visible to the naked eye, appearing as a clear separation between the primary and secondary images. The double die error occurred during the hub and die creation process. In 1972, dies were created through multiple impressions from a hub. If the die shifted slightly between impressions, it created a doubled image that would then be transferred to every coin struck by that die. Think of it like stamping a rubber stamp twice, but slightly offset each time. Here's what makes the 1972 double die particularly special. The doubling is among the most dramatic of any U.S. coin error. When examining a potential 1972 double-die penny, focus on the word Liberty. The letters should show clear separation, almost as if they're casting a shadow. The date, 1972, will also exhibit strong doubling, particularly in the numbers 9 and 7. But the double die isn't the only valuable error from 1972. Some pennies from this year show off-center strikes, where the design isn't perfectly centered on the planchet. The more off-center the strike, the more valuable the coin becomes, as long as the date remains visible. A 1972 penny struck 50% off-center recently sold for $3,800. Take the story of Sarah Chun, a college student who discovered a 1972 penny with significant strike-through error while cleaning out her grandmother's coin jar. A strike-through occurs when a foreign object gets between the die and the planchet during striking. In Sarah's case, the penny had been struck through a piece of cloth, leaving a distinct textile pattern on the surface. That coin, which her grandmother had kept in a jar for decades, sold for $7,200. Let's talk about die breaks and cracks, another category of valuable errors from 1972. As dies wore down during production, they sometimes developed cracks that transferred raised lines onto the coins. Major die breaks, especially those that create dramatic, retained cut errors, where part of the die breaks away but remains attached, can command prices ranging from $500 to several $1,000s. One of the most legendary 1972 penny errors is the floating roof variety. On these coins, a die break created the illusion that the roof of the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse is disconnected from its columns. While not as valuable as the double die, these coins still regularly sell for $100 to $500, depending on condition. Speaking of condition, let's address an essential factor in determining value: preservation. A 1972 double die penny in circulated condition might sell for $25,000, but the same coin in pristine, uncirculated condition could fetch over $150,000. The highest price ever paid for a 1972 double die penny was $325,000 for a specimen graded MS 67 read by PCGS, the finest known example. But how do you determine if your 1972 penny is the real deal? First, you'll need a magnifying glass, at least 5x magnification, though 10x is better. Look for these key indicators. True double dies will show consistent doubling across all affected areas. If you see doubling on just one part of the coin but not others, it's likely machine doubling, which is much more common and less valuable. The doubling should be clear and sharp, not mushy or ill-defined. Check the mint mark, or lack thereof. Philadelphia minted 1972 pennies have no mint mark, while Denver coins show a D and San Francisco coins display an S. The most valuable double die errors came from Philadelphia, so absence of a mint mark is your first good sign. Machine doubling, which can be mistaken for double die errors, typically shows shelf-like steps on the letters and numbers rather than clear separation. This is crucial because many collectors have been disappointed after mistaking machine doubling for the real thing. Consider the story of Mike Denton, a postal worker who'd been collecting coins for 30 years before making his greatest discovery. In 2021, he found a 1972 double die penny in exceptional condition while sorting through a collection he'd purchased at an estate sale. The previous owner had no idea of its value, having kept it in an old folder with hundreds of other pennies. Mike's coin, graded MS 66 red, sold for $218,000. The red color Mike's coin displayed is another crucial factor in value. Copper pennies can be categorized as red, RD, red-brown, RB, or brown, BN, with red being the most desirable. A red penny retains at least 95% of its original copper color, showing minimal darkening or toning. The chemistry of copper means that maintaining this red color over decades is extremely difficult, which is why red specimens command such high premiums. But perhaps the most incredible aspect of 1,972 penny errors is that they're still being discovered. Unlike many rare coins that were recognized and preserved from the moment of their creation, these errors circulated for years before their significance was understood. This means that valuable 1972 error pennies could still be in circulation, sitting in coin jars, or passing through cash registers across America. Take these additional varieties that command strong prices: The 1972 penny with die adjustment strikes, where the striking pressure was being tested, leaving a weak impression that some collectors prize. Or the rare examples showing major clash dies, where the obverse and reverse dies struck each other without a planchet between them, transferring ghostly impressions of the opposite design. Some of the most valuable 1972 pennies combine multiple errors. A double die penny with significant die breaks could be worth substantially more than one showing either error alone. These combinations are exceedingly rare, with only a handful of documented examples. The market for these error coins continues to strengthen, driven by both serious numismatists and casual collectors who dream of finding a fortune in their pocket change. Recent years have seen steady price increases, with some varieties doubling in value over the past decade. For those hoping to find their own valuable 1972 penny, here's a systematic approach. Start by checking the date. You're looking specifically for 1972 with no mint mark. Then examine the lettering in Liberty and the date for clear, consistent doubling. Check the overall color. Red specimens are worth significantly more than brown ones. Finally, look for any additional errors like die breaks or off-center strikes that could add value. Remember that authenticity is paramount. The coin market is unfortunately plagued with counterfeits, so any valuable find should be authenticated by a reputable third-party grading service like PCGS or NGC. These services will encapsulate the coin in a tamper-evident holder and assign it a grade, providing peace of mind for both buyers and sellers. The hunt for these rare 60s and 70s pennies continues today. Check your change using our identification guide. You might have one of these copper treasures. Subscribe for more vintage coin secrets and hit the bell for weekly updates. Drop a comment if you found any special pennies from these years. Until next time, keep searching.